Hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. I just wanted to. I've been speaking with quite a few of our clients recently, and I thought it might be helpful to make a video just to kind of run through some of the interesting ways in which people are using invites and kind of trying to help kind of unlock some of the potential that invites have. So, in order to do this, I just want to show you my setup. So this is my fake fair. It's called the Mocha Art Fair. I've got two collections here, which contain the events below. You can see I've got a bunch of events related to the actual fair itself. So the guest list for the press, the VIP invitations, and the public tickets, and that's all sat within the Mocha Fair. And then I have other events, so this is including like the fair tour, artist talks, the exhibitors after party, collectors breakfast, etc., etc. So the reason I group these together is mainly for convenience. There's a couple of other reasons. One being that many fairs basically have a kind of front of house team who need access to view all of the bookings across, both the public tickets, VIPs, and the press list all in one place rather than having to jump between guest lists. So they can go in here, view bookings, and here they can easily see, this person's press, this person's a VIP invitation. Obviously these are all just demos, so a lot of my name you'll see throughout this demo, but that gives you a bit of an idea as to why one would use a collection. The other reason for using a collection, is it, as well as allowing you to organize, you may have multiple teams. So you may have like a VIP collection, which just has the VIP events in it. You may have an overall collection, which has everything in it. And you may have much smaller collections, maybe things to do with partners, where you basically want to share access on a collection level. So as you may well know, you can basically share access to the guest list on a single event, or you can add people to your team by going into your settings and then access and add like people to your team. But you can also do that on a collection. So if you wanted people just to have access to these three events rather than having to add them to the three events down here, the public tickets, the VIP invitations, and the guest list, you could just add them to the collection and they just have access to that. So that's a little preview of my setup. The main thing here I wanted to run through is invitations. So for that, we're going to look more specifically at the VIP invitation that is going to be sent to all of the VIPs, and how do we do that? So first things first, basically when you create a booking page, within the edit section you basically have different types of visibility. So this is marked as private. If it was public, technically the link is indexed by Google, so technically people could stumble across your booking page like randomly. If it's marked as private, however, it's unindexed by Google, and then you have two options. So you can either have it so that anybody with the link, the main booking link for this event, can book, or you can put further security on it to say only people with an invite. Now, the main benefit of doing this is when you have anyone with a link that can book, technically if I send this to one VIP, they could forward that on to 10 of their friends or post it on social media, and technically this link could be booked by anybody who manages to get the link. Locking it with only with invites just gives you a lot more control. So I'm just going to dive into that, and this is the general setup that most fairs will do for all of their invited guests, all of the exhibitors, guests, partners, etc. And then they'll have one page which is set to public, and that will be their ticketing page, where obviously you want to drive as much traffic to that as possible. So now that this is set to only people with an invite, we can go into invites. It's indicated by the fact that it's restricted. So if someone was to stumble across the main booking page for this, they would basically be told they don't have permission to view this page. So the only way to do so is to basically have an invite. So I'm just going to create a single use invite just to kind of give you an idea of the kind of potential. So here you could create an invite without someone's name and email. So I'll just call this morning mail out, and in this case I am going to put my name again, another booking with me. By putting the name in the email, it's locked it to me. If I don't put the name in the email, essentially the user will be asked to enter that information, but it can only be used once, this invite, because this is a single-use invite. That's the key thing to notice here. So when I generate this invite, I now have this code, and if I was to open up this in a new tab, as if I'd sent this to myself, I now can book, rather than being given the permission denied. So once I book, so I'll choose 12 o'clock, the name and email are automatically populated, so it basically makes for a very simple click. Yes, I want to bring a guest. Yes, I'm vaccinated. And then pulls up the confirmation, and this is all personalized. And that's kind of on the customer-facing side of things. But more interestingly, going back here, if I refresh this, you can now see that this has been used. So that link no longer will work, and if I go across to the bookings, I booked for 12 o'clock, so it'll be one of these. It was booked with an invite, it was for 2 people. I think it was this one. Yeah, and the label that I gave it is also added to that booking, so morning mail out. Now, just to kind of focus in a little bit on why do you want to use labels? Well, labels are extremely powerful for many ways. Like, firstly, it helps you just organize efficiently. But secondly, as I've kind of demonstrated here, you can start to kind of use the labels as a way to track the source of the booking. So in this case, I've said morning mail out. I could have created 1,000 invites, sent them out to 1,000 people I know in this mail out, and I want to know what is the success rate of that mail out. How many bookings came from that? Or morning mail out, and it's the 18th of March, so I could mark that as the label. And then next week, when I do my second mail out, I want to see, like, you know, are these bookings increasing as we're getting closer to the event, which they will. Other uses here could be, you could provide a partner with a invite code, a multi-use invite code, set the uses to say 30, provide that to your partner and make the label the partner's name. And then you know any of the bookings that come from their link are going to be marked. And so it's quite easy to identify, this is, let's say, the art newspaper. You can provide them with one. You can say, here are 30 bookings that all originated from that one contact with the art newspaper. So obviously, it's not very practical to go through creating these one by one, even if they're single use or multi-use. So what I want to focus on really in this video brief is basically at the advanced options. Now, this is designed to make things much, much easier. So with the CSV upload, you can essentially create your list in Excel and then just batch up, like in one click, upload everything, generate all of the individual invite codes, which you can then download and mail merge. Batch creation is just for super quick, like you just want to create 1,000 individual codes, but you don't want to personalize them. So you don't know people's name or email. But you just want to basically create, 1,000 and then distribute them to 1,000 people, like kind of randomly. I think I'd like to move on from this because everything that I'm going to talk about here can be covered in CSV Upload. So if we were to go to CSV Upload, obviously the first thing to think about is what files can be uploaded here. Now, down here, we've said, you can download the templates. And if you do this, what you'll get is a template CSV file with these columns. Now, the important thing here is that these columns are what is machine readable by ArtSVP. So when you start to kind of create the list of people that you want to invite, you basically need to bear in mind that when you come to upload it, these are the pieces of data that we will be reading. So let's just dive in. So I've got here a fake contact list. I've downloaded it. I think if you try calling any of these numbers, you're going to get totally different people to these. And I think all of these email addresses are fake. So that's just the disclaimer. So this could be my database of contacts. And I'll just run through kind of from left to right. So obviously we have the first name, last name, company name. That's kind of a bit itty bitty data. In this, we have their addresses. That's not going to be very useful for us. The phone number's also not really required in this at this point, but maybe it's going to be helpful later on for the booking team. Everyone's email, that's obviously pretty important, but actually not essential. And then we have their membership level. So we've got VIP 1s, VIP 2s, and a few VIP 3s. We've also got an additional column, which is our top collectors. And so there's just a few of them, but it's quite helpful, and we probably want to make sure that these top collectors get the best possible experience, and make sure that they have a good booking experience, make sure they come to the fair, and make sure they're treated as such. So this is my starting point, and the question is, how do I get this into a format that can be easily uploaded? So the first thing I'm going to do is just select the whole list, and then I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go over to my template that I've downloaded. Again, just going back to here, you can download the template from the CSV upload page. And I'm just going to add this in from columns G onwards. So I'm just going to paste that in. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff here that's already pretty straightforward for us to kind of go through. So I'm going to start off by, I just want to be dealing with the VIP 1s. Now, why am I breaking up VIP 1s and VIP 2s and VIP 3s? Well, the reason why I'm going to break them up is because I'm actually going to be uploading those to separate events on ArtSVP. So at the moment, my setup on my dashboard is I just have VIP invitations. So I'm actually going to go into this and be a bit more specific here. And I'm actually going to call this VIP 1s. This is the internal name. This won't be displayed to the customer. And I'm going to then create a couple more pages at a later date for VIP 2s and VIP 3s. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because VIP 1s, they have a certain set of availability. So VIP 1s can come from Thursday at 10 a.m. But VIP 2s can't come until Friday, and VIP 3s can't come until Saturday. So what they're allowed to book is distinguished on the event level. So what I'll have to do is break up my list at some point and get rid of the VIP 2s and VIP 3s for now, and come back to them later. So I'm actually just going to duplicate this sheet across, and for this second sheet I'm just going to remove from all the VIP 1s. So I'm just going to delete these rows to here. Oh, I've gone back. Yeah, I'm going to duplicate, and then I'm going to select all of the VIP 1s. So that's here. Delete rows. So now we've got our VIP 2s, and then again, so I'm going to call this, rename this VIP 2, call this VIP 1. For the VIP 1 one, obviously I want to delete everything below VIP. So we've got about 500 records, I think, and yeah, so we can just clear that up. Okay, so we're going to focus on the VIP 1s. Now the label is important, so I'm going to call this VIP 1 upload 1. We may get more VIP 1s at a later date that we want to upload, so it's nice to use the label in this circumstance to basically indicate when the upload was done. So I'm going to just drag that down. So these are all labeled VIP 1s. Now, the label is the only piece of data that ArtSVP must have to generate an invite. You can call this whatever you like. In this case, as I say, I'm using it just to indicate like what it is and when it was uploaded. Now, the name, ArtSVP uses just a single name field, and in my database here, I have like a first name, last name. So I need to put in a formula here. This is a pretty straightforward formula. So I just select this column. I use and then I put a quotation marks, a space, and then another and then select the last name. And yeah, it's already suggesting that we just autofill this the whole way down, which is correct. And we can just have a quick check. Let's just have a little look. All of those are adding up correctly. So now the name is in the format we require it. Email, we actually already have an email column. So what I'm going to do here is just basically rename this column in the right format for ArtSVP and delete this column. These columns, the order of them makes no difference, but for good practice, I like to keep them in the same order as the template. What we're reading, like I say again, is just these are the ones that we are going to, ArtSVP is going to process. It's going to look and read this and do something with this data. So if you don't have the name and email, it's still going to generate an invite because it has a label, and it's just going to be a blank invite. And somebody's going to have to actually enter in their name and email when they book. If it has this, they're not going to need to do that. Now, obviously, all of these are personalized because we have the names and emails for everybody. So the number of uses of these invites, we only want them to be used once. We don't want this person making 5 bookings. So we can just set the number of uses of these invites to 1. And if you leave this as blank, that will change to 1. The way the system works is ones and blanks mean 1. But if you were to put in 0, that means infinite uses. So we just translate zeros to infinite uses. And we'll come back to why you would have multiple uses at a later point. But just for VIPs, we're going to, for good practice, just to add in 1. I just put in 2 so it doesn't end up doing a count when I drag this down. And pop that in. So these are all going to be used once. And now what about these other 2 columns? So Golden is golden invites, and the great thing about golden invites, they are extremely useful in several different circumstances, but in this case, they basically ignore availability. So on my event, when somebody goes to book, if certain slots have been booked out or certain days are booked out, someone with a golden invite will be able to still book those days. So who might you want to give a golden invite to? Well, in this case, I've got my top collectors. Now, if Alicia wants to come, on a day that is technically booked out, we still want Alicia to come. It's important to provide the best service, so we're just going to let her book anyway. So for all of these ones where I put yes, I'm just going to put in here true. Now, you'll notice no matter how I type it, this is a Boolean. When you type true or false, it will basically turn it into data. So even if I was to type it all in lowercase, so the next one is this one. So true for that one and true here. And if you were doing lots of these, you could just have a simple formula, which would say if yes over here, mark as true. And also I could just copy this. So we've got that one's true, and then we have this one's true, and this one is true. And do we have any others? No, that's it. Okay, waitlist is a new feature that we brought out. It's not really required, but essentially the waitlist thing works exactly the same as golden. You can mark people as true, and if they're marked as waitlist true, they're not actually able to book. All they're going to do is they're going to add themselves to the waitlist, and then it'll be the job of the admin or the event organizer to basically go through the bookings, view the ones that are waitlist, and then either approve or decline them. It's not something that generally is used by fairs, so in this case, I'm just going to ignore this column. Technically, you could delete this column if you're not using it. That's totally fine. But again, best practice just to leave it in so you build up, so you get used to the system. Now, technically, ArtSVP doesn't need any of this data. And it won't do anything with this data. It's not going to use any of this at kind of any point. But it could be useful to still pass this and upload this and attach it to the invite. Now, why might that be helpful? Well, if this is how your database is structured, it just makes it a little bit easier when you come to download the bookings. This data will be passed from the invite to any booking that is made with that invite as metadata. So when you come to download your bookings, you can these columns will be added to the bookings download, and it makes it potentially easier for you to pair things up. You may also have another column, for example, called CRM ID, for example. And again, passing that information isn't required. It's not used by ArtSVP in any way. But if you were to basically then try and pair your data back up with your database, it could be a very helpful field to have. So in this case, I'm not going to add in this additional column just because I don't have any pre-fills there, but I'm going to leave this. I think this could be helpful. The company name might be helpful. The phone number might be really helpful. The phone number might be helpful should there be, should you need to contact any of these VIPs like last minute to just check in on them. You'll be able to view this from the bookings view. So I've now created my spreadsheet, and this is ready for upload. This is just the VIP ones. So I'm going to now download this as a CSV. So I've got that as a CSV. I can now go across to my dashboard, go back to the invites, and now I'll go to create, advanced options, CSV upload, and now I'm just going to drag this file in here. And now you can see I've got all of the VIP one upload ones here. Any of these ones, these are the ones that I marked as golden. And I basically am now a step closer to basically being able to do my mail out to all of my VIPs with a mail merge. So let's just take a random one. So this one's a non-golden one. Copy that. Let's just have a look at how that looks. So that's nice. The whole experience is personalized. This first slot's obviously booked out. So we'll come back to that in a second. And this person can then go through the booking experience. And if they were to click book, they haven't had to type in any details. And this has made life pretty straightforward for them. So just clear up some of these or close down some of those pages. So that was a normal invite. Now let's just have a little look at one of these golden invites. So Fernanda, let's have a look at her invite. So if we open this up, suddenly she can book the 10 a.m. slot. So that's technically sold out, but it's fine. We've already built into our capacity modeling at an earlier stage that these numbers where we've set the capacity allow for some wiggle room. They allow for some last minute, all the kind of things that happen are not there. Some people turning up early, some people turning up late. That's all been accounted for. So it's fine to allow a few extra people to book, as long as you're careful and you're selective about who you give golden invites to. So the experience for her would be exactly the same. Her details are passed straight through. She can book, one-click booking, and that is how you do that. So again, the next point is mail merge. So you don't want to have to go through copying these links one by one, but just in the same way, and I'll just describe this, just in the same way that you would, you could essentially download this list. And if you download this will be emailed to you. In the same way that you would do a mail merge and have dear name at the top, instead of just pasting a link to say click here to book, you would just make that link a variable. So you would upload the list which now would include these invite codes back up to your mailing provider, and there would then be an extra field in the database in the mailing provider called, art, in this case, Mocha Art Fair Invite, I would probably call it. And all of your contacts would then be assigned their individual link. And then you can just do a mail merge in the same way that you would go dear name. Instead, the link just becomes Mocha Fair Invite variable. And everyone then is sent a personal link. So that is the benefit of invites in a nutshell for VIPs. So I'll just quickly go to my email and I'll just download this, and what you'll be able to see is basically they all have the link, they all have the data that's required. Here we have it. These ones were created before I added in this data, so they're all for this VIP1 event, and then here are all the ones that we just created from here downwards. And yeah, here they are. Got all this additional data. And in fact, just to demonstrate, again, I'll just actually take one of these links. So I'm booking as this person. Let's say they're taking 2 people. So this person's booked for 12 o'clock. So if we now go back and view the booking, so that's this booking here. You can see it came by from an invite because it has a little invite code there. And if we were to click on this, we can basically see this is the label we gave it. This is some other information about the booking. But then here's the metadata. So all of that additional data that your team may want to access is viewable here. So the booking has come through, there's been some issue potentially. You need to get in touch with Chris, and you can click here on the metadata, and because you've added in phone numbers, you can now call her directly and find that data here nice and easily. It just makes managing bookings much better if you've got all of the information that your team need, and metadata is one of the ways to do that. So moving on, so we've done our VIP1, our list of people that we have uploaded, but we also have a lot of VIP1s that we don't know the details of. Now, who are these VIP1s? These are the guests of the exhibitors of the fair. So if we take a typical art fair that might have 30 to 60 individual exhibitors, each of those exhibitors has a list of maybe 100 people that they'd like to invite to the fair. Now, there are many ways in which fairs have tried to do this in the past. They've just dished out cards, they've told the exhibitors to provide them with a list so that the fair can invite them on their behalf. These all have a series of problems. So the first thing is getting data from galleries can be tricky in and of itself. Secondly, it's time consuming. It's putting more work on the fair. And thirdly, there are data like GDPR implications. So it's always best to put the onus on the end user to decide to book and choose their own time. And it makes the whole process much better user experience when VIP X books, they know they've booked, and then they receive an email saying your booking is confirmed. It doesn't come out of the blue and is confusing for them. So how do we facilitate this while keeping the fair in control? Well, for this is where we come into the use of multi-invites. So I'm going to go back to my demo page. I'm going to create a new tab. I'm going to call it VIP1 exhibitors. Exhibitor invites. Now, I'm not going to create an individual link for each guest that a gallery invites. So I'm just going to take the template, I'm going to go across here, I'm going to pop that in, and I'm going to use the label as the exhibitors to identify these. Now, exhibitor X, let's call this one, and then we could create 20 invites and they'd all be unique, and then provide those to the exhibitor X and they can distribute them individually. But to be honest, what's much easier is just to create one link for exhibitor X for VIP 1s, one link for VIP X for VIP 2s, etc., and then distribute those links with multi-use. So we're going to have exhibitor X, we're going to have exhibitor Y, and why not? Let's just have exhibitor Z or Z for my American friends. So name and email are not going to be important. We don't know the name and emails of their clients. Golden and waitlist at this point, we're going to make those both. We're not going to worry about those. And the key thing here is uses. So for this, we're going to provide each of these exhibitors with one link that can be used 30 times. And if you were to extrapolate this down and have, I think in fact we may be able to do this. I think it's going to go back to, okay, now we have a pattern. This way we can basically just spin these up. Now obviously you're going to have a list of maybe 30, 40 different exhibitors, so those would come down here. You can allocate them uses, the uses here, and then the same way you can basically go into download a CSV of this, And then if we go back to our invites, we can now go create, advanced options, CSV upload. I'm just going to drag in my latest one. It's uploading that, and now we've generated these links. So here we can see this has been used 0 of 30 times. Each of them have been used 0 of 30 times. This becomes super handy as a really easy way to see like which exhibitors have sent out their invites, which ones are starting to generate bookings, which ones are getting close to the limit of how many their allocation. Do you want to provide them with more, like a larger allocation? Or the people that haven't sent anything out, do you want to basically call them up and say like, please can you start sending out your invites, give them a little bit of a nudge? And then finally, all of the bookings that come through with these are going to have these labels. So let's book with exhibitor. Let's book with this link. So we're just going to come in here, open this up. And now it's not personalized because we don't know the name of the person, but this link has basically been sent to Exhibitor Z, and they've now distributed it to some of their guests, and I'm now just one of their guests making a booking. So e-guest test, I'm going to call myself, put in my email. More than welcome to email me if you have any questions after this video. They're going to confirm their booking, and the booking is confirmed. They can add it to their calendar. They can view a QR code if you're using QR codes for scanning people in. They can change their booking, etc. All of the standard RSVP features. So that booking is now, if I use this one, so I'm just going to close that. I'm now going to go to bookings. If there were a whole bunch of bookings, we might want to isolate those bookings. So we could just search for all of the bookings that came through with that. And obviously there's just the one for now. Now this again can be pretty helpful because you can, if Exhibitor Z was to call up and say, oh, which of my guests are coming, do you know when they're coming? You could essentially go in, type in their name in search, take a screenshot of this page if you want to, send it back to them, and they'll have all the dates and times of when people are arriving. The reason this works is because, again, it's passed through as the label, and we can then use that for search. Other things that are kind of interesting about this is that you have if you're doing this with a lot of people, maybe just before the fair starts, you may just go back to the kind of bookings view, download all of the bookings. Again, you can do this on a collection basis, and then you'll essentially have one giant spreadsheet of the thousands of bookings that you have, and you can simply start using filters in Excel to cut up that spreadsheet into, the 30 exhibitors, and just send them back the data that you're happy to share with them about when their guests are coming. Now, of course, other bookings may come in. We're actually working on other features to allow exhibitors to view just the bookings in real time, so they'll be able to see when someone's checked in, when someone's in the building, so to speak, who's booked, so they can see essentially provide them with a dashboard. With some clients we work with, we already do that using the API. They build the interface that their exhibitors use, and we just provide them with the data to make things nice and easy. But I think that's there's two kind of key points there. One is your list of people you have, and one is making it easy here for exhibitors to get bookings on your behalf. Now, the final use of invites isn't, I'm not going to demonstrate it using my VIP page because you wouldn't necessarily be doing that. But with the public ticket page, you would think, oh, right, well, this is a public page, the link's just out there. We want to get as many bookings as possible. But what you actually realize is that invites can be used in a totally different way. So you can basically just go in, create a multi-use invite, and just give this the label of a campaign. Campaign 18th of March. So I'm going to call this email campaign. And I'm going to set this to 0. As you can see here, set it to 0. It can be used infinite times. So I'm going to create one for that. I'm going to send out this link later today. I also have several partnerships happening with several publications. So I might go in, create a multi-use one, call it ArtNet, and I'll provide that link to ArtNet, and then I'll be able to see how many bookings come from ArtNet's audience. I'm actually going to create another one for Instagram. This is going to be the link I post in my Instagram bio. or Linktree. I'm trying to think of other ones that I'm going to do. Oh yeah, I actually want to track the links that come from my website. So rather than just using the standard booking link, I'm actually going to do this. Now you'd think, oh, what, like, is this overkill? Like, surely Google Analytics can tell us some of this stuff. Well, the reality of it is that analytics platforms don't provide particularly accurate data when it comes to the source of bookings. The only way to really have a good idea of where a booking came from is to know which link that they booked with. And this provides 100% accuracy. So I've set these ones here to be used infinite times. And this bottom one, which I previously set up, was called the Art Week special link. So I'm going to provide that to Art Week. And the reason I've limited that is I want to make it a finite thing. I want it to feel like exclusive. I've told Art Week that there's only 100 users. So when they send that out, it's kind of the fastest 100 people to book. So yeah, there's a couple of different use cases there. I know it might have been a little bit of a long video, but I hope this is helpful for some of you guys who are setting up and sending out invites for fairs over the coming months. And any questions, as always, just get in touch with us. You can always chat to us here using the live chat, and you've got my email. Have a good day, guys.